having given you a little bit of background which may or may not help you, and it doesn't really matter, I just want to ask you this question and maybe some other questions about it. It's not a test, and I'm doing it because I'm interested in finding out how other people think and how they respond to that. So, my question, which was given to me in this lecture, is, what do you think the mind is?
What do I think the mind is?
Yeah.
I think it's... there's a whole lot of semantics around which bit is which, and I'm not sure that I'm talking about the same thing that you're looking at.
Right.
But the mind to me is a pattern. It is an area where lots of information is stored and where patterns evolve and are noted. And this is all from De Bono, I think, which I read in my summer holiday. I love his model that all this information is sort of whizzing through. His octopuses on the beach, do you know that?
No.
That's absolutely fascinating, really. But basically, information is there and is activated and processed, and patterns emerge and patterns become thoughts. So I see the mind as being associated with thinking and patterns and thoughts.
Right. Do you think that it is essentially a subset or byproduct of biological functioning, or do you think it's something different to that?
I see it very much as analogous to this idea of computer hardware and software.
Yeah.
That is, that there is a certain number of brain cells there which are equivalent to the speed of the chip, if you like. And then how we use it is a function of the hardware, which is sort of built up from scratch, which is why I think it's absolutely wonderful having a baby running around, because I'm watching his thinking processes build up. So I can sort of test out little ideas I have about how he learns and be totally amazed every day. So I'm surprised at the number of things which appear to be biological when I would have thought that they would have come from environment, and I can't think of anything. But all I can say is that I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I am surprised that more things seem to be genetic or biological, whereas I would have thought they would have come specifically out of environment.
Right. Okay. Do you think that the mind is something that the individual possesses, or something that is a collective, or both? Or
I think the mind is very much as something that the individual possesses, but the individual exists in a collective environment. The whole of the conditioning of the mind comes not from me, from the child mind, from the other children. James, well, I'm thinking of James running around. The mind is built up from perceptions which are shared with other people. So it's his mind, but it's shaped and formed by others. I feel very strongly that there is no such thing as the sort of the corporate mind. It's the individual mind which has been shaped by the environment.
So do you think that a collective mind does not exist?
I don't believe a collective mind exists.
Okay. Now, in terms of location, where would you say the mind is located?
What if there's a mind in the human
if
being?
Such a thing exists, if this thing exists,
where does it exist?
Where is it located?
Well, it's partly in the brain and partly in the rest of the physiology. Actually, I'm trying to explore this myself at the moment. That is that the fact that how I sit affects how I think implies that it's through the whole of the nervous system, not just in the brain.
Okay. Yeah. So do you think the mind exists? Maybe I should ask that.
I think, that's semantics,
Okay.
probably, but I do believe it exists.
Okay. So you think the mind is contained within the physical body?
I think the mind's contained within the physical body, yes.
Okay. What do you think happens to the mind, so to speak, after death? So when the individual is no longer.
Right. I think that it dies with the individual, but having said that, that same mind has been giving impressions and helping to form other minds throughout its life, children, colleagues, friends. So you could say that it continues to exist. Now, I had an extremely strict religious upbringing till I was, right through my 20s, which I sort of reject, but I'm very peaceful about death, and somehow all of the pleasant, relaxed views of dying live with me still, and I think they're all reconciled in, but I mean, going to be with Christ, or how you want to express it, is sort of in there, so that although I say it dies, I do see the person continuing, and perhaps I haven't reconciled the two completely.
Okay. Have you got does this raise any questions, just talking like this and putting this to you?
Does it raise any questions? No, it doesn't. I mean, if it raised a question, it would be on how I saw where I thought I would go after I died, but it doesn't actually raise any questions. I feel peace about that.
That's in terms of what happens to the mind
Right.
and death. To take the whole piece, if you like, about going back to asking you that question.
Yeah.
Does that provoke any questions for you?
What
The whole
context, does
question
the
of
mind exist? Well, I spend a lot of
What
time.
is the mind? Does it exist?
It does to this extent that I don't think I had thought through what other bits of functioning are there which could also be conceptualized, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I have great difficulty with the idea of the difference between the spirit and the soul, for example, and I don't think I've got those concepts watertight.
Right. I mean, that's when I said we could talk about this for hours, because then I could now ask you what do you think the soul is and so on, but
I've got much less idea.
yeah. Okay. So perhaps we just
Yes,
keep it to that and close it there, although only in the sense of now and tonight.
Yes, yeah.